Oh, hi there. Welcome to Shogi in the West, an English language podcast for active shogi players and shogi learners around the world. In this podcast, we focus on the topics and on the people that matter to those of us outside Japan, trying to find our way in this game. And this week's episode is, I'm going to say, a bit of a labor of love. And the reason I say that is because I just finished recording this podcast and it was about an hour long. And it turns out the mic was muted. So I spent an entire hour blabbing on about this topic of English language shogi books into a dead mic. So I have a video. If anyone wants this video of just muted me talking into the void, I can make it available. But this week, I am going to actually speak into the podcast. You can hear me now and discuss a subject that is another one of those very, very common questions for people coming new to the game, for people entering my stream, for example. And I think this is going to be maybe the last of these introductory-ish podcasts where we talked about getting started in shogi. We talked about my self interview, and now talking about these books. So I have done this before. I have discussed this on stream. The first time it was ever asked on stream, and I went through the books, and I think we need a bit of a refresher. But this is going to be it. In the West, we have, as English language books, not too many. We don't have as many as the Go community has, for example. We don't have as many as the chess world has, obviously. And I would argue that we don't even have the quality either of the Go world or the chess world in terms of books. But what we have is pretty good. It's a ringing endorsement. They're pretty darn good. Some of them are outstanding, and they are certainly worthwhile for someone starting out or for someone trying to improve in this game, especially if you can't speak Japanese. So the way I'm going to handle this is to talk first about the basic books, the beginner books, move into the sort of middle, more advanced range of books, and then switch over into sort of miscellaneous and then problem sets. But first, before doing that, the book that I have to mention is the book that, if you're in the United States, you most likely will have seen at a major bookstore or at a recycled books kind of used bookstore. I have seen this many times, around in those situations. And it is Japanese Chess, The Game of Shogi by Trevor Leggett. I'm curious if this is also popular in Europe, anywhere else. But here, if you are going to see a book on shogi in a major retailer, it's probably going to be Japanese Chess. It's got that sort of made for Borders or made for Barnes and Noble kind of folded paper book, or a folded paper board in the back. It has paper that you could punch out, paper pieces, and it's kind of cute. It's kind of nice, but if you're seeing this on video, you see that I have not taken any of these pieces out. I didn't use this paper board. I have my own boards. But this book, I don't hear too many good things from people about this book, and you're probably not going to hear too many great things from me about this book. It is an introduction to the game. I don't think it's particularly valuable as an introduction to the game. It has some weird notations on the board. Not overwhelmingly bad. It tries to internationalize the pieces a little bit, and those are usually hit or miss, usually miss. And I think this is no different. But this is a book. If you have no ability to buy any book about shogi besides this book, then maybe I'd say maybe get it. But otherwise, everything else we're going to discuss today is, in my opinion anyway, better than this book. So that is Japanese chess. And with that out of the way, we'll move on to getting started. And I think one of the best books that we have is a book that is a great introduction to the end game. It is called Which Pieces Do You Need to Mate by Daisuke Katagami. This is published by Nekomato. Nekomato does a great job with their books, both in terms of a tactile sense, in terms of a print quality, in terms of the quality of material. Nekomato, everything Nekomato sells is great. And I think this is something special. It's reminiscent to me of Bobby Fischer Teaches Chess, which is also many people's first chess book. And that book is just a book of problems. There's not a lot of prose and prose. It's just problems. There's no notation in those books. It's just mating, if I remember correctly. And this is basically what it is. You're given 3 pieces and a position. Which of these pieces can you mate with? It's that simple. And I think they're interesting problems. They illuminate some of the things that you will need to know to start making mating attacks. And it does it in a real nice, subtle way. I love this book. I have gone through this book 3 times now. The first time is when I bought it. The second time, I had recommended it to my son who was thinking about learning shogi. And I wanted to sort of know remind myself what I'm getting him into just by going through it again. And then after that, I have just gone through it for fun, just kind of on a random day, just decided, I should just do that again, see how it is. And it's a fantastic book. I can't recommend this enough. I know other people have recommended this as a great starting book, and that's that. From there, also called Shogi for Beginners. This is a book by Fairbairn. Fairbairn is one of those sort of legendary names in the shogi world, or legendary in the Western shogi world. Has translated some things and has been a very strong player. And this is a nice book. This book you might also potentially see at a bookstore. I have seen this in Japanese bookstores. So next to the Leggett book, I've seen this a couple times. Once, I believe, in the San Jose, Japantown, there was a little book section. It was sort of like it's a craft folk store, and they had a book section, and this was there with Leggett, the Japanese chess book. And so you might see this. I do think this is a better book than Leggett, but it has chess notation. So chess notation is number letter versus shogi notation, which is number. There are various forms of shogi notation with number. All of them are better, in my opinion, than chess notation. It's to the point where with chess notation, I simply won't read a book anymore. I won't pick up a PDF. I won't pick up a book if it's got chess notation. And so, I would not get this myself these days. But if you don't mind chess notation and you have access to this book, I think it's a worthwhile first or second read. It gets into some of the topics of the game. It served me somewhat well, I guess. It got me prepared to play. Goes through the how to play, how the pieces move, of course, castles and whatnot. It's all right. Not great. I probably not terrible. But I would not recommend it. Certainly not at the level of Which Pieces Do You Need to Mate. And a large reason why I would not recommend that to beginners is because we have a new series that I think does a much better job, and that is by Seigo Sato. These have come out in the past couple of years, I want to say. Time is a blur to me, but let me take a look at the the beginning here just to see if there's a date. I'm not seeing, because this is a self-printed book, I believe, from Amazon. It doesn't have all sort of the official information about it. Okay, made in the USA, Moni, Illinois, October 2022. Okay, so it's, like I said, relatively new, and this is from, it's listed as amateur 3-dan Seigo Sato. I don't know if he's improved since then or, ranked up since then, but Seigo Sato makes some YouTube videos as well for beginners, and there are these 3 books. They're all printed, and they are in what he's calling the Shogi Fundamentals series. The first book is Shogi Openings. Volume 1 is the Shogi Openings book. Volume 2 is Shogi Middle Game. And Volume 3 is Shogi Endgame. And just to get a sense of what these books have in store, I'll go through the table of contents. But Shogi Endgame, I'll just say right off the bat, this is more of the traditional kind of Hishi or mating kind of book. You'll find better elsewhere. There's plenty of mating books to get mate problems. Plenty of that stuff. And a lot of times you don't need descriptions of it, but this does have descriptions of like answers, and it might be useful, like especially if you are a complete beginner. But anyway, Shogi Openings. A lot of people believe that openings aren't that important in Shogi, or certainly not at the low levels, and I generally agree. But getting started in the game is rather important, and sometimes just having some confidence in what you're doing makes it more fun. So yeah, you may become better by focusing on endgame first and all this other stuff, but the game is about fun, and sometimes, like, for some people, myself included, if I'm just sort of randomly making moves in the beginning, that's not as fun for me. I'd like to know what I'm going for. I'd like to be able to try to build a plan. And I think that this book does a decent job for it. When I went through these books, I think it must have been around 2022, 2023. They felt pretty far below me. But so make of that what you will. These are beginner books. What to think about in your first few moves: building a castle, then static rook joseki and ranging rook joseki, followed by next move problems. So that's what this openings book has. And when it says joseki, it's light. It's very light, and it's not overwhelming. It's giving you a taste of the various types of static rook openings, a taste of the various types of ranging rook openings, so that you can select. So you can select and try things out. And I think it does a great job of it. Shogi Middle Game, I'll go through here. I was very curious when getting this one to see what this would be about, because there isn't much material on Shogi Middle Game, at least available to English language speakers. It turns out to be a lot of sort of tactical motifs. Tactics for attack. It talks about joining pawn, dangling pawn, striking pawn, using an offensive silver, things like that, in very light fashion. This is still very much for beginners. Tactics for defense, building the castle, upgrading your castle, aiming for material gain with some tactics like lance skewers, knight forks, silver forks. These are you might see videos. I think all of these types of topics are better served maybe by like a Debusho video or a Seigo Sato video, because this is very light, but it's a good introduction to them. It's a good introduction, opens your mind to possibilities, gives you some chance to work on some problems. And then finally, it talks about evaluating a situation. And again, in relatively light terms, followed by next moves. So those are those two. I've read both of these. I think they're both very well done, and I definitely recommend them for beginners and for just slightly above beginners. They're important topics and handled pretty nicely. Endgame, again, like I said, there are so many ways to get shogi puzzles that I'd hesitate to make a strong recommendation of this, but it's okay. It's okay. There are not many problems here. But there is some prose, there's some description, but the description is also often just like, it's all, here's, I just opened to a random one. Gote captures the gold and silver from the Mino castle. It's like, GX, it's basically in words saying gold takes. And that's okay. And that's okay. It's a little less intimidating, and worth going through. If you're a little more advanced, if you're familiar with doing sort of mate in threes or whatnot, you might be able to do this in just in a night. It might be a very quick read and be worth it. So those are those 3 books. Now we get into a slightly past beginner and potentially serving up into, I would say these, maybe someone can disagree with me, I would say these books serve up past Shodan even level, potentially. These are the At a Glance series, published by Nekomato. It's 4 books. Ending Attack at a Glance, Edge Attack at a Glance, Sabaki at a Glance, and Joseki at a Glance. And they each obviously have a separate topic, but all of them are given in problem form. So there is prose, there is writing, there is descriptive writing. All of these have been translated by Kawasaki Tomohide, who is affectionately known as Hidechi, and big figure in the shogi world, in the Western shogi world. And these are all translated by him. The books themselves are written by Kitao Madoka, who is the person behind Nekomato, Ladies Pro, who is behind Nekomato and has done so much for the Western shogi world. And the books feel great. They look great. The text is clear. It feels good in the hand. And I cannot recommend these enough. But the order that people recommend these in, I think sometimes differs. Usually I see people recommending going with Ending Attack at a Glance first, followed by either Sabaki at a Glance or Edge Attack at a Glance, and then followed by Joseki at a Glance, potentially with the option of just foregoing or not going through Joseki at a Glance. But anyway, starting at Ending Attack at a Glance, I've gone through this once. I'm going through it again now. You can see my bookmark in here if you're watching the video. It's setting up mates, threat mates. It's actual tsumes. It's fantastic. The I think it gets hard. Maybe I'm just bad at these, but it gets to a level that they're not very straightforward. They're certainly longer. Like this problem at the end, avoiding a mate 13. It's not mate in 13, but avoiding a mate 13. Like it's a problem of avoiding getting a mate, which is hard to come by in our available literature. So it's got a lot, and I'm going through it again. It's fantastic, and I think it's a no-brainer recommendation. Edge Attack at a Glance. I've gone through 3/4 of this, and then I stopped. And I think when I went through this, I was at a lower level, and so it was very difficult for me. And I think when I was going through this, I want to say I was probably 4 to 3Q Shogi Wars. And this was very difficult for me. But I'd think about it, go to the next problem, or go read the solution and move on. In time, over playing a lot of games and having things, edge attacks, described to me or explained to me better by people such as Koshiro, I have a better sense of edge attacks, and I'm making them more in my games. And now coming back occasionally to this book, just glancing at it, I was like, oh, now I see that one. I've been through these. Now I know these. I know the ideas behind edge attacks. Edge attacks were always magical when I was starting out. It's like you drop one or you push and then you get captured and then you drop one and you don't really know why you're dropping one because you can't necessarily see why don't they just take or do whatever? There's a lot of subtlety in edge attacks. It's hard to defend and sometimes hard to make edge attacks. And I plan on coming back to this one in the future. Once I'm done with, my plans. I'm doing ending attack at a glance right now. I'm streaming Shogi, one of the other books, Storming the Mino Castle. I'm also doing a Mate and 7 book on the side. And after ending attack, I want to do Sabaki at a glance as well. But as a game time decision, I'll either do Sabaki at a glance or Edge Attack at a glance again, just because I'm making a lot of edge attacks these days. So there's that. Moving to Sabaki at a glance, this is a tough topic, and I haven't done many of these Sabaki at a glance problems yet. I've had these books for a while, but I've been mostly focused on doing mating problems. So I haven't gone through these. So like any good chess player who buys chess books, I have a lot of books that have not necessarily been fully utilized before getting another book. So, I got all 4 of these at once, and you can't start 4 at once. And so I have missed a lot of these, but Sabaki at a glance, it's the problems that I skim through look interesting. It's, like I said before, we don't have too many problem books that are not just mates or hishis. So I treat these as a precious resource, and I look forward to doing more of these. Joseki at a glance, like I said, is the one that I think people seem to say you could probably do without. It is not. I'm spoiled by the chess world. I'm spoiled. Not that I'm a good chess player, but I'm spoiled by what's available to chess players, such as Chessable, and that's a service that lets you learn your opening lines by repeating them. So you make a move, the software gives one of the variants that the opponent can do, and then it's like, okay, now you have to make your move. So you're basically playing. It's teaching you an opening by giving you the moves of your opponent, and you have to make the correct moves. Meanwhile, there's also explanation and things like that. It's a great resource. It's a way to take books and turn them into repetitive computer problems. And Chessable is fantastic. I Dream of Shogi has been working on something called Shogi Craft, which is available online. There are a couple courses there. Really cool stuff, very promising. I would love to have that for Shogi. But anyway, back to this book. It is just like the others. It's a problem book. So like the very first problem, I will show this. The very first problem is you're in double wing attack, and it shows you the first, it wants you to do the first move. So first move, you make the pawn. And then the second move, it's sort of like that Chessable thing that I said, where they make a move, then you make a move. So it goes into those, but then it doesn't do much of that in the future. So it takes a light first few steps, and then it gets harder and it gets more tactical. It's like, okay, now I'm in. Now what? And so it gives you a sense of what these openings are about, but it's just not comprehensive enough, I would say. So when I bought this book, I was a Nakabisha player, and so I went through the Central Rook section in this, and it was good, but it just wasn't all that useful. It just wasn't showing me positions that I get a lot, or it wasn't showing me like the variations. It wasn't showing me main lines. It's just showing like, here are positions you see or things that happen in Central Rook, and then learn from this. So I didn't get all that much use out of it as a Central Rook player. I do probably plan on going back to this and trying it again, just since I'm playing more openings. Well, not really. I mean, I'm playing Urshin and Ryu now, but it'd be nice to just get a sense of some of the themes of what people are trying to go for. So buy it in a set. You can't go wrong. But Joseki at a glance certainly is, for me, the least impressive of those. From there, we start getting into the next step, I guess. Sort of the next step of growth, sort of beyond those. And these are books now that will also, I would say, extend in value well past Shodan. And these are also published by Nekomato with a different publishing style, but the quality is also fantastic. It's still fantastic. And that is 2 books by Kaneko Takeshi, Storming the Mino Castle and Ending Attack Techniques 200. Starting with Storming the Mino Castle, this is a book that I have streamed these questions and answers to for months now. Periodically I'll start up a stream and do 10 problems or whatever. It's slow going because they're awfully hard, but it is a systematic approach of breaking down the most common castle that there is, especially for ranging rook players, the Mino Castle. It starts with and goes through the various permutations of it. So half Mino, full Mino or complete Mino, high Mino, silver crown, Kimura Mino, gold Mino, and some other stuff. And very difficult, but it's incredibly useful. I had originally got this because I was a Nakabisha player and I wanted to find ways to defend my own Mino Castle and see what the opponents would be trying to do against me. And early on, I immediately got ideas out of this. Immediately had some utility from this book. It's a great book. It's highly recommended. I can't recommend this enough. It's such an important topic. I wish there were more. I wish he had released more. Maybe he did in Japanese, but I wish there were more, like a Storming Yagura or Storming Anaguma. I wish that there were more of this because this is so good. This is one, I will say that we have 3 absolute gems, must-haves in the Eastern or in the English language shogi book category, and this is one of them, Storming the Mino Castle. The second of them, or another of them, is his other book, Ending Attack Techniques 200. And this is a book that I have heard from multiple people as being the book that got them to Shodan. This is the book that got me to Shodan, people will say. And I can see why, because endgame is such an important aspect. It's so, if you don't know what you're doing, sometimes you're just kind of flapping around, not making any progress. And this gives you an approach to creating mating situations and creating mates. And I can't really praise it highly enough other than to just say, you've got to get it. You've got to get it. Plenty of recommendations of professional players in the cover from Habu, Moriuchi, Sato, Yasumitsu, Tanigawa, Watanabe, Akira, the Shogi dad Watanabe, and it's fantastic. It's fantastic. Highly recommended. It's hard. When I started on this, I was around that 4Q mark, and it was hard. And so often it would be me doing a problem, staring at it for 10 minutes, not really knowing what to do, and from there reading the answer and then moving to the next one. And it really slowed down. So when I go through some of these other ones, I'm going to come back to this. This is one of those books that I think you could probably do multiple. This might be one of those every year books. I hear some people talking about that in the chess world, where there's a book that they will redo or reread every year or every 2 years. This is, I think, possibly the shogi book to do every year, because these ideas and techniques will never go bad, and it's hard enough that even if you continue to improve, you probably will still need to think again. Like if you've mastered all of these, if you can blitz through this book, you're pretty darn good, or you have some sort of memory shortcut. So highly recommended. Translated by Kawasaki Tomohide, Hidechi again. It's a fantastic translation. Storming the Mino Castle, I didn't mention, and I should have. It's translated by Richard Sams, and this has some of the best prose, prose, that I think that any English language shogi book has. I love it. It's so good. It's so good. If I had to have a complaint about Storming the Mino Castle, it's that sometimes, in order to save space, I suppose, they can't go as in depth to some answers as you might in a thicker book. But so sometimes it's a frustration where I'm seeing a problem, I see I see the solution, except for one move that the opponent could do that's giving me trouble. So it's like, okay, I would do this except for this move. I don't know what to do if the opponent does that. And then the answer will come out and it'll be the move that I said, but then there will be zero mention of the move that I was afraid of. And that happens a few times. Obviously, it's a limitation of mine not being good enough, but that happens enough that it's been, for me, a mildly frustrating point a few times in this book. So I mentioned that, but again, 100% recommended. Both of these books, 100% recommended. These are the two of the best shogi books that we have available. Two of the absolute critical books that you have to own as an English language shogi player. And before I get into the third, I will mention another book that fits somewhere in the middle there. It's not quite beginner, though it does have sections on beginning the game, and it's a real nice, I would say, intermediate to advanced book that also starts with beginners. It's The Art of Shogi by Tony Hosking. I bought it straight from him at the foundation, the Shogi Foundation in England, and it's like a workbook sized book. It's got there's a lot going on. There's a lot of text, but it's a fantastic exposition of the things you need to learn in shogi and the art of how to play the game. And so it has topics, obviously the beginning, where I said has the pieces and comparison of shogi with chess, a historical introduction, which is actually quite interesting, and introduction to shogi strategy and tactics, and then the end game, a discussion of balancing attack and defense, which is huge in shogi. That's such a tough subject. These are important, meaty topics, and we don't get these covered in many books, and The Art of Shogi has it. Castles, attack, and then a lot on the opening, but interspersed throughout these is a bunch of annotated games with nice annotations. And so if you're the kind of person who likes to play games out over the board, as I am, you can get your board, get this book, make the moves. The notation is good. It's the Hosking notation. And then read the explanation of the moves. So I find this to be a great book. I wouldn't put it quite up there in that sort of heavenly tier where the top three are, but it's up there. I think it's well worth buying, especially if you can get it from him. It's tough to get in certain circumstances if you don't get it straight from him, my understanding is. But if you can get it. It's great. And Hosking is an important person in the shogi in the Western language shogi community. The foreword is by Habu, and Habu says some kind words about Tony, and definitely would recommend this one. But the third now, also from the same same also published by the Shogi Foundation and Hosking, is Habu's words. This is a gem. This is up there with those top three must-have books. Habu's words. It's translated by Takahashi and Hosking to a certain extent, and it is written by one of the greatest players of all time, Yoshiharu Habu. It includes an introduction by him and 12 annotated amateur games. And they're all interesting games. How can you go wrong? Amateur games annotated by Habu. It is what it says on the tin, and you get all sorts of different topics each game is presented for a specific reason, and I've gone through this one 3 times. Like I said, I like to play. I like to read and go. I like to play games over on my floor shogi board, the types of shogi board with legs. So I'll get the pieces out. I'll have the book out, and it lays flat. It's a nice workbook style. I'll play the moves. I'll read the description. I'll think about what I would do next, and it's slow going, but it's enjoyable. I enjoy doing it, and this book makes it just even more enjoyable. If you're familiar in the chess world with sort of the classic Irving Chernev's logical chess move by move, this is like that. This does not quite go into every single move like that does, unfortunately, but this is the closest we have to that, and this is outstanding. This is written by Habu, so I can't. If you can get this. And I'll say now, even though it's published by the Shogi Foundation, with Husking, when I got this from Nekomato. So the Nekomato website, which I will link in the show notes on YouTube, they sell all of the books that they published. So the At a Glance series, Any Attack Techniques 200, Storming the Mino Castle. They also sell this. So I think I bought this together with Any Attack Techniques and Storming the Mino Castle, and they have a shogi clock that they sell, a Nekomato branded shogi clock. So I bought all those things together, and you saved a bit on shipping, but well worth it to go through them and support them. Habu's words, fantastic. Since I mentioned Nekomato, I'll finish with the last of the Nekomato books that I have, which is the Japanese English Shogi Dictionary by Hidechi, also Kawasaki Tomohide. And this book I could do without. I have not gotten almost any use out of this book. In the times I've tried to use it, it hasn't come up useful. It hasn't come up with an answer. So it's a Japanese to English Shogi dictionary. So it's sorted by Japanese first character. So the pages show the Japanese word, and then the English word, and then the definition of it. The index is by English word. So it's tough to find things, especially if you only have the Japanese term. It's like you see a Japanese term somewhere and you want to look it up. It's hard to find. It's hard to find. You're almost scanning through. You're scanning through to find, okay, what does the first character look like? Oh, it's not in there. It's not in there. So like if they're giving kanji. So now it's like, okay, now how do I find this? You've got to sort of turn it into katakana. Or is it hiragana? You turn it into something, and then you look it up and hope it's there. But like if you know the sound of the word, you could potentially look it up. So like for example, fugire. If I want to know what fugire means, I'll look in the index. I'll look for F, and I see it's not in there. So I'm out of luck. Basically, these types of Japanese/English word lists, they're available online, and I find them much more useful because you could Command F and search in page, or it seems to have more than this has. I don't know, but this, I'm glad I supported Nekomato by buying this book, but I get zero use from this. Literally zero use from this. I don't think I have ever thought of a word and been like, okay, let me go look in the dictionary and then see if I can find it, and then actually found anything in here. So, not so useful. I would not recommend it, but I mention it because I think a lot of people do end up getting it because it's from Nekomato. And then from there, maybe the more controversial thing is I'll call it a classic. It's been tough to come by. I think sometimes it's really expensive. I was fortunate when I got it to just be able to get it. But it's called Better Moves for Better Shogi by Aono Teruichi and translated by Fairbairn. So, from that Shogi for Beginners book, among other things. And it's a bilingual book in Japanese and English. One side of the page is English text. The other side is Japanese text. There's a lot of visual noise in here. It's not at all simplified. The diagrams are all, obviously the diagram is in Japanese, kanji, because the pieces, but the variations are given all in Japanese. It's not even sort of Western style notation. It's all Japanese notation, and then just a little bit of text, which translates the little bit of Japanese text. A lot of positions, a lot of variations it shows. The worst part of it, I would say unforgivable part of it, is that the boards are in Japanese notation, which is good. But then the translated text switches and says pawn 4F. It's like, okay, well, it's, to be fair, the boards also have the Japanese, but then the A, B, C, D, E. I can't do that. I need to see Japanese notation or Western Japanese notation of number character does not do it for me. And when I was reading this, I was at a lower level than I am now. So some of these critiques may go away. But when I read this, I found that this is one of those, this would be like some of the chess books that I don't like, where they explain with just variations. Silver 4-6 or Silver 4G or whatever. Silver 4G is bad because, and then it rattles off a variation line. Like, it doesn't say why it's bad in text. It just says it in moves. And especially with this dense format where there's a million diagrams, and the text is so small, you sometimes would have to be opening and switching. I would be switching the pages back and forth, just trying to be like, okay, now it wants to do this. It's referencing a position 3 pages before. And if you can't hold the whole board in your head, as I still can't, you're not going to be able to get through it. So you might have to do it in front of a board. I didn't feel like I was learning anything from this. It's just like, don't do this because variation. Like, if I want that, like, I don't need a book. I'll just play an engine. If I want to know why a move is bad, if the reason I want to know why a move is bad is because of a variation, I'll just ask the engine. Like, it doesn't help me to be in a book. So I got very little out of this. It's just so visually noisy. It's so, like, I don't know if they're saving money or what in this publishing style, but there's no point in having all this Japanese text, because a Japanese person would just get the Japanese book. So why do I have all this Japanese text taking up all this space? I don't quite get it. I sort of see what they're getting at. It's kind of quirky and unique, but to me, it's just visual noise. And the chess notation makes it such that I'll just never go back to this. So, I've talked to people about this, people who would be in a position to be able to do it. I'm 1000% willing to be wrong on this book. And if it came out with proper Western shogi notation, I'd snap it up in an instant, because I hear a lot of good things about this book. A lot of people seem to think it has some very good lessons, and he's a legendary teacher. And so, how could you go wrong? But I tried. I didn't get past the chess notation and the just mind dump or brain dump of variations, and I stopped. I was not enjoying this book. I don't recommend it. I think it's still very expensive, but there it is. The classic better moves for better shogi. My apologies. I really want to love that one, but I can't. From there now, I think I have one more shogi book, but it's in the topic of tsume shogi problems, which is the mate problems. And I would say that we have, again, available at Nekomato, a number of these, which are Mate in 5, Mate in 3, Mate in 7. These books, these are, and now as I'm here, when I recorded this video, and I had the mic muted, I remembered the author's name, but now I can't. I have Iono in my name. I can't remember this author's name. I follow him on Twitter. He's the author of these colored books, each one with a different number. So there's Mate in 1s. There's this Mate in 3, which I'm holding up, which is yellow. There's a Mate in 5, which is teal. There's a Mate in 7, which is orange. And the Mate in 7 orange book is the one that I'm going through now. They're in Japanese, but they're problem books. They're mate books. So you don't actually need to really read Japanese. You just see the variation. You see the variation. You can read Japanese notation. You'll be good. And I recommend those. But we do have a mate book in English, and that's by T. Gene Davis, Tsume Puzzles for Japanese Chess. I've heard some people say some negatives about this, but I thought it was good. I thought it was very good. It's easy to read. It does have chess notation, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter so much because you see the answer on you see the answer. You see the answer in the answers, area. And well, maybe I'm being too kind on it. You see the answers in the answers area. You do it's not like the Japanese books that have the answer on the next page. You have to go to a dedicated answers area. In there, it does have the chess notation, so you still do have to put up with chess notation. Maybe I'm just with rose-tinted glasses looking fondly back on this one, and maybe you should just use any of the Japanese books. But, I mean, how could you go wrong? The author, he's wearing a fedora on the back of the book. He's got sunglasses. He's wearing a fedora. You can't go wrong with that. I support English language books, and they're relatively clear, especially if you don't care so much about the answer. Sometimes if you find the answer and you think it's there, you're good. You can move on. It's about solving the problems. It's not about necessarily reading the answer. So I'm trying to talk this one up for some reason, but it's available. It's easy enough available on Amazon. Tsume Puzzles for Japanese Chess. So, if you only have access to Amazon.com and you need some Tsume books, I think this will be a good one. Or this will be one that will be able to fill your needs. And then from there, I'll mention an honorary recipient of one of the best shogi language books, one of the best English language shogi books. And that is a chess book, Chess Tactics from Scratch by Martin Vetishnik. It's called the subtitle Understanding Chess Tactics, 2nd edition. And this, I'm telling from my own experience, and mind you, I did not finish this book, but from my own experience, when I did the first few chapters of this book, it immediately leveled up my chess. It immediately leveled up my shogi. So this book is not just here's a pin. Now here are 20 problems on pins. Here's what a fork is. Now here's 20 problems on forks. It's not that. This is a book that it's called Chess Tactics from Scratch for a reason. It's about building these tactics. How do how do you, yes, a pin is good, and everyone sees a pin, not everyone, but you see a pin on the board, but sometimes the problem is creating that pin. So that's what this book sets out to do, and I think it does a great job of it. So these tactics, pins, discovered attacks, double attacks, the X-ray attacks, these are practical for shogi as well. And like I said, I found that just going through the few of these chapters when I did, my shogi leveled up. And I was winning a lot more games, seeing a lot more tactics, getting a lot more tactical opportunities, like creating the tactics. And obviously, I still have a ways to go. But if you're at all a chess player, I think it's a no-brainer because I think it's helpful for both. I think you'll help your chess, you'll help your shogi. I see this one recommended so often from other chess podcasts that makes me think, I'm safe to make this recommendation. I just recently watched a video from Grandmaster Jesse Cry of Chess Dojo, and this was a video review of pretty much talking about this book, and he recommended it. So I think you can't go wrong. I'm not here trying to sell chess books, of course, but I will mention it because it did help me noticeably. And so I continue to bring that up to people. So that is it. That is pretty much, as far as I know, that is all or almost all of the available English language shogi books that have been printed. And there are some more that are ebooks. Some are available on Amazon. For example, Seigo Sato, the author of those that beginning series, he has recently released a Fourth File Rook ebook, and he's working on, I believe, a Bogeen, maybe some form of static rook ebook as well, where he's going deeper into an opening. It's still not like the most advanced stuff, but it's deeper than the beginning. And the little bit I've read of the Fourth File ebook, I'm impressed with it, and I plan to read more. So that's coming out. I know Debusho has some ebooks. I've purchased those. Shogi Ramen TV has, I think, 1 or 2 ebooks on Amazon. So there are some other ebooks, but of the printed books, I think these are it, and I think they're pretty good. As it turns out, I do actually own more Japanese shogi books than I do these English books, but those are mostly just problem books. And because those are the ones I can deal with versus these where I can learn and understand descriptions and ideas. Shogi is obviously very tactical, and endgame is so important. Being able to spot mating patterns is critical, but sometimes having ideas is also important, and that's what these books give. So I hope this was helpful. This is a very common question that I get on stream, and it's a common question I see, relatively common question I see on the Discord where people are asking about books or discussing books. And so I hope this is helpful. In the future, I think the floodgates will be opened to other topics now on the podcast, maybe some topics that are not necessarily geared towards beginner players, but we've set the stage with how to get started in shogi, the self-interview, now the available English language books, and I think we should be ready for some other interesting topics, and I hope I can deliver them in an interesting way, or at least a thought-provoking way. So that will do that for this podcast. Thank you for the overwhelming support that I've been getting for the first episodes. And I'm doing my best. I really want to make this work, and I want to bring people into the game, and I hope that I can help in some small way. So thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you for the constructive criticism. Thank you for the constructive comments or the kind comments. And if you have questions, please put them in the show notes or in the YouTube comments. Please feel free to email me at shogidad81@gmail.com. If you want to be interviewed again, email me, shogidad81@gmail.com. and or message me on the Discord, message in the YouTube comments. I've got a few people that seem willing to do it, and I'm going to be working on that, get some kinks out of this interview process. So that should be good. And if you have subject ideas, I have a list of subjects that I can talk on or can try to talk on, but sometimes people come up with better ideas. So if you have subjects that you want to talk about, please, by all means, give them. And I would be happy to at the very minimum, think about it, but hopefully do it. And that's it. So thanks as always. I will see you next time. Enjoy your shogi and take care. Bye.